Welcome to Inside the Upside Down, and I know it's a little bit earlier start for Inside the Upside Down and no rabbit hole tonight. What happened here? So we're going to be talking about most haunted memories, our most haunted memories, and we want to hear about some of yours as well. So I do apologize for the mix-up, confusion, and all of that to start off this evening. First of all, our co-host for Edge of the Rabbit Hole, Vanessa Hogel, is sick, so she was unable to join us this evening. And then I'm not sure what happened to our guest, Freddie Silva. I know there's a lot of bad weather back east, and you never know if somebody has a family emergency or what have you. But I was unable to contact him at all. And everything was good to go a couple days ago, so I do hope everything's okay with him, and whatever happened isn't severe. So. Because I was really looking forward to it.
Me too. I've got to be honest. If you're having trouble going to sleep, put his videos on. Like, I'm serious.
Freddie has the most soothing voice, that is for sure.
He would be perfect for hypnosis or guided meditation or anything like that. Like, I was amazed. Like, better than any of the documentaries I've listened to. That man's voice is just like down, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, he's got a great voice, but more than that, he's done a ton of research. I mean, we could like literally sit here for hours and talk to him, and it's like, how much can you cram into an hour-long show? So we're going to cover a lot of things that were in this, The Divine Blueprint, which covers a lot of things that we've been talking about here recently on Haunted Road Media, like ley lines, sacred sites, ancient wisdom, stuff like that we've kind of been working into our regular programming. And he's like one of the most foremost experts in the world on a lot of this information. So we'll try to reschedule. Like I said, I don't know what happened, but we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, all day looking forward to it.
Yeah. It was going to be a good one, so we'll see what happens. So in any case, I had a hard time thinking of what to do for Inside the Upside Down, following up what we were supposed to have for this evening. And so we were just at Cheney House, Cheney Mansion this past weekend. We had a lot of different experiences, and so it's a great old house.
Yeah, and definitely, like the first time we were there were some experiences, as there usually is, but this time was definitely a lot different.
Yeah, it really was. So I thought we'd talk about most haunted memories, and this one, at least for me, kind of is one of those, just because of what happened to me up in PD's room. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I also want to kind of step back into time, because we're talking memories and just kind of like the inspiration of it being an old house and how far back it does go into time. We can talk about some of our original experiences, and we want to hear from you guys too. So I guess we can start with Cheney. And great. I don't have any photos or anything lined up.
But it is on the thumbnail for the video. It's
yeah. I can throw that up. So that's Cheney House right there in the thumbnail. Good call.
Yeah, and then on each of our pages, we posted a bunch of pictures,
right,
from the outside and the inside, and some of the different things that are on the property. If you're in the area, or even anywhere close to the area, definitely make that one of your stops.
Yeah,
or let us know, and we'll help hook that up, because it's a beautiful house.
Yeah, and they have the paranormal investigations there. That's one way that they help to raise money for the location, but it's also part of the County Historical Society. So they have the big Historical Society building back there. They've brought in they've got an old school there, an old church, some different log cabins. They've recreated the original town, which was called Hickory Grove,
right.
So it's very cool. And it's the Cheney Mansion is kind of like the centerpiece of all that. And originally, it was just a red house that was there, and the mansion got built up around it. So look at that. iTunes is trying to get me to update. Not right now. Stop that.
That's rude, iTunes.
Yeah, don't be doing that. So
it's showtime. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's showtime. So yeah, there's Karen Whitaker. Your funding keeps Cheney open. Please stop by. Absolutely. So Yeah, so I was up there in PD's room. Now PD, he was not the original PD. There was like 3 of them. The original PD, Prentice Dana Cheney. He's the one that built around the Red House, which had been used for a tavern and a stagecoach stop and stuff like that on the route from Jacksonville to Alton. It was the 3rd one, the grandson, that he was a massive drunk. He was really notorious for just getting lit and causing a ruckus. He liked to dress up in military uniforms, even though he was never in the military. I guess he had been to like some academy or something when he was younger, but he never actually got into the military. So I think it was kind of one of those dreams that he had, and he couldn't make the cut or whatever it was. And so it was a longing he always had. Skilled musician, which is kind of a nice thing, but terrible drunk. And so we're up in his room, and I guess he has kind of a penchant for, like Carol said, putting the whammy on the guys. And sure enough, I was up there, and it was just like headache, throbbing. It was just crazy. And then at one point, you gave me your black tourmaline.
Because every investigator, every empath, anybody who is familiar with crystals knows that a black tourmaline is one that you should always have in your possession.
Yeah.
So I have one on me all the time.
So she handed one to me, and and a few details here from Karen. He didn't wash the uniform until townspeople threw him in a horse trough. So yeah, he would just wear it incessantly. It would stink. So and yes, Tom, the house is open for tours. So definitely come on down, make a road trip on your way to Alton. Come from Chicago, stop off.
Yes.
And check it out. So so she gives me the black tourmaline. It's in my hand, right? And I'm hearing it crack in my hand. It's like I'm holding it, not like super tight, firm, so it doesn't fall out of my hand. And I hear crack. I'm like, your stone is cracking.
And then hands it to me, and the next thing I know, it's like broken in half. So must have done its job, I guess. Soaked up a little too much negative. And you also were feeling like someone was stabbing you.
Well, yeah, that was the next thing that happened after that, because we'd gone downstairs for a break. I was like, I need to get out of there for a little bit. Went downstairs for a break, had some dark chocolate. It was like immediately, like walking downstairs, I felt so much better. So we're taking a little bit of break. You're checking out your black tourmaline, like, what the heck happened to the tourmaline? And then we were hearing, because they have some like baby monitors set up around in some different locations. They have a security cam set up with 4 cameras, but then they have like also some baby monitors that are set up there. One's in the hallway upstairs on the 2nd floor, and we're hearing like moving around, but then like these little growls and stuff like that. So I'm feeling better. So head on upstairs, and I'm just trying to ask, okay, who's up here, who's walking around, who's trying to get our attention, that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like this massive sharp pain in my back right here, like shoulder blade, that it felt like somebody was stabbing me with something long and sharp right into the back. So Tom McNicholas, $10 super chat, says, get well, Vanessa, 7 days is coming soon. Yes, Vanessa has her art show a week from today. So Rika Yamakaze at Haunted Road Media. I was about 4. I was visiting my grandmother's sister's. Her home is on and I guess we're going to have a story continue on after that. But good to see you. Good to see you down in chat. Yeah, so I ended up kind of like what you did the first time that we were up there doing the walkthrough. Went into that sewing room. It's almost like a little sanctuary or something. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and we did. And he went up there alone, and we heard him down there say, ow. Over
I was like, oh, you can't be doing that. Yeah,
and then one of the times, or both times, something they saw on the security camera, something or someone follow us out, to follow you out of the room, and then follow us down. And so that's good. I'd like to see the replay on that footage.
Oh, definitely. So that was our weekend. It was pretty interesting. So we have a couple of videos that'll be coming out from that because we visited Cheney back. Well, Karen was there. Karen Whitaker was with us, Ron Turner's group, back in July for my birthday.
Yeah.
So that was a fun night. And then, of course, this investigation. So we have 2 Cheney House videos coming out. So Karen Whitaker says, that sewing room is where I first got hit with nausea and chest pains on my last visit. Nice. So I guess not quite a sanctuary. Yeah. It was for me. I don't know.
We were in the slave quarter, in the servants' quarters, right? That's where all the child stuff is.
Yeah, where all the kids are at. Yeah.
And not supposed to go upstairs. We didn't go upstairs, but at least open the door and put my recorder on the stairs, and we audibly heard a child cough. So
that's true. Yep.
That was pretty cool.
Extremely audible.
And saw a twinkle.
Yeah, you were following that twinkle around for a while in there.
Yeah. Was it there? Wasn't there last time. I didn't see it last time. But it's here this time, so I think it was probably following again. Let's see.
Tom McNicholas says, Mike's first weekend free. That was my first weekend free in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been traveling so much. The weekend before was Ferry Plantation, where I'd had some really interesting experiences a couple of years ago. And similar in a way because of how much energy I felt. I mean, this was definitely, like almost an oppressive, whatever, pounding on the head sort of thing. I really think he just wants a drink. I think that's what he wants. Maybe it was a hangover of his I was feeling. I don't know. I think he just wants a drink. But at Ferry, a couple of years ago, and if you guys saw the live video, then you saw me talking about this and describing it. But we, of course, also have a video on the channel that shows it all, where they had the best parlor set up as a wake, and they actually had like a body set out there and all this stuff. They do have mourning gowns there, the big black gowns when the women would mourn for their lost loved ones. But when I started in on the investigation on the question and started talking about the setup, I was just immediately being told pretty vehemently that they did not like this whatsoever. It's like things that I was asking was immediately being answered in my head. There were audible EVPs to back up what I was hearing. Just all kinds of interesting stuff and I don't usually do stuff like that. So really, really interesting. So it was kind of another one of those like really strong, emotional, energetic type moments. And there is a $10 Australian super chat from Robert White. It says, living the upside down way of life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little upside down tonight. So I mean, those are a couple powerful ones for me. One here recently and one a couple years ago to some place I just visited a week and a half ago now. So what about you?
Off topic, I got in my car today and there was a dragonfly in it. And instead of letting it out, it sat over on the passenger side windowsill and followed me for the entire duration from Greenfield to Alton, which is about, 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I got out of the car and I had to shoo it out because, it's like summer temperatures again in this area and I didn't want it to bake in there. So I'm starting to think with as many times as they've landed on me and I see them all the time, I'm wondering if maybe dragonflies aren't my spirit animal or something. Maybe.
Could be. I wouldn't doubt that whatsoever. Donna Gorton says, as far as tourmaline cracking, stones can, quote-unquote, die, give up their energy, either protecting you or by absorbing too much negative energy.
I believe that that night.
Yep.
So I went to Zen today and got 2 more.
There you
go. Big
go.
one for Mike because apparently he needs it when we go to Cheney. I mean, the energy that I felt, while that, was a lot less, than what he was feeling. Like I could still feel the buzz, and I was feeling, it was like the tingling that I usually feel, but it was almost like painful. Not quite as painful of an experience as what he was from, but it was like a hard buzz, and kind of stung for a little bit. But I was able to sit in the chair right next to PD's bed, and I mean, I didn't get the whammy like Carol put it. So
A whammy, yeah.
yeah, that didn't quite happen to me.
Well, apparently it
but,
puts the whammy on guys, not ladies. So
yeah.
probably doesn't like guys, probably likes women. Angel 9 says, Mike, I'm up late. Nice to see this show live for once. This is Chuck. Oh,
Yeah, it's his new channel.
Chuck. Okay, cool. I didn't realize that. Very cool. Hey, Chuck.
Gonna see you soon.
Yep. And then Betty Lange says, where is the house located? Missed that. So that is, the Cheney house is in Jerseyville, Illinois.
Yep.
So here we go.
And I have a lot of memories that are pretty significant. Probably the most recent one would have been upstairs at Mineral Springs with Molly, and still have no proof whether or not, no supporting documentation that is her name. But after saying the letter that her name started with, and then the name floating through my head and me saying it, I would say her behavior after that was positive, was a confirmation for me, because she kind of put the whammy on me, I guess. I don't know. Whoever she was, I mean, grabbed my arm so hard, kind of, hello, the first time, and then the next time, whenever I said her name, I mean, she really grabbed a hold of me. And if I wouldn't have been sitting down, I probably would have fallen. I mean, it was a really strong wave of energy that just, come at me. So,
but it was pretty powerful, because I felt it where I was sitting. It knocked you backward almost into my lap, but I was already being pushed back.
Yeah.
So that was pretty wild.
It was crazy. And I was listening to the audio, and we're not really, supposed to disclose, everything that has happened there in the past. But I do know that some of the I have like several, bookmarked, timestamp EVPs of, whispers and stuff, of course, and a bunch of sounds like a woman, like maybe trying to say, something, but her mouth is covered, so she's just like trying to get words out, but she's just can't. And there's a lot of that all scattered throughout there. And then, of course, my earphones suck, but before, and there's a little bit like right before the big, surge of energy that came with me saying her name, and then there was just like a little bit of stuff right after. But so I definitely need to listen to it with better earphones, and definitely need to go back, because I feel like,
Well, yeah, need to follow up on that, and we'll see if we can find any history. I mean, it's probably gonna be hard to find any sort of records or anything like that on a Molly or what have you, especially considering, I mean, for one, how old the place is, how scant records would be like that, and some of the different things that they said were going on up there. There's not going to be records,
right?
But it's featured in the new encounters coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yep.
If I can ever get it written.
The sisters would say, hi, just found your channel and we love it. Sis and I really enjoy it. Well, glad you and your sister are enjoying the channel. So I guess we should put out there, because we didn't at the beginning. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Of course, we just had our 8,000 subscriber winner, Sean Gilmore. I think that was last week, right? Mm-hmm. We're cruising right up to 9,000, so there's going to be another giveaway here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So.
And hit the little bell.
Yes, hit the little bell icon to get notifications.
So that you'll know whenever we post new stuff and go live and all that kind of stuff.
So Karen asking, was this in the upstairs unfinished apartment area of Mineral Springs?
Yes.
Yes, it was. So, and there is Robert. It says it's a $2 super chat. It says, keep up the great work and thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Absolutely appreciate that. So, yeah, that upstairs area, really, really interesting. It is going to get covered a little bit here in the upcoming Encounters book. Kind of almost a follow-up. I mean, the last Encounters book that we did, Encounters with Paranormal Volume 3, which was the Mineral Springs Hotel edition, covered quite a bit up there.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet, check that out. And what we're actually going to do with these additional stories, of course, are going to be part of Encounters 4 because they were submitted for that. But, and I've talked a little bit about it before, you know, these books, these volumes of information, whatever you want to call them, these tomes, I don't know, come up with a good word. They're like living documents to me. And so as we go along and we're having more experiences or finding people with other experiences at these locations, we're kind of adding to the record here. So we did that with the Goldenrod Showboat, where we came out with a second edition, added some more stories and experiences that people have had there, which kind of adds to the whole legend and history and all of that of the Goldenrod Showboat. But we're also going to do that with Mineral Springs here. And so this additional story here, and I think Vanessa had a little bit of one that she was putting together too, we'll add those to the old one too and just keep expanding on that.
Right.
So Betty Lange says, my most haunted place was a Catholic cemetery in Sioux City, Iowa. Interesting. You've had some experiences at Catholic cemeteries.
Yeah. The Catholic cemetery in the town I used to live in, where I grew up, I hated that cemetery. Even as a child, when the lady that used to watch my sister and I used to live at the base of the hill of that Catholic cemetery, and she had family up there, so she would want to go up there, and daytime always she would go up there, but I hated it. It was just so, I could never go out, I could never go up there. I could get to like the bay or to the beginning of the cemetery, and then I'd be done with it. And then as I got older, you know, I would try to conquer my fear of that cemetery. And there was one night, and my dad was even with us, because he knows how I feel about that cemetery, and cemeteries are just cemeteries to him, you know. So we went, and it was almost like having, almost like a panic attack. Like I was fine. I got out in the snow, and then I got over into this one area, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, and I almost passed out. And my dad had to kind of get me over onto the other side away from the stones, and once I was over there I was fine. And then eventually I'm able to go up there. So I don't know what changed, but I've had some really weird experiences up there. I was wandering around, you know, by myself, trying to, you know, get over this cemetery and my issues with it. And I noticed, if I remember correctly, there's two, which one is it? Barrow Cemetery, there's someone buried there twice. She has 2 stones. Well, the Catholic cemetery, there's one also. And I noticed that. I didn't hear anybody come up behind me in a vehicle, and I didn't hear anybody walk up behind me. But then the next thing I know, there's this old man standing there, and he had on denim coveralls and a white shirt. And I remember him saying something about the lady that was buried there, and I was so surprised to hear a voice because I thought I was alone, and I turned around and, you know, I said something, you know, and then I turned back around, and then I looked again because I was like, what the hell, you know, and I looked again, and he wasn't there anymore. So did I see, there was nowhere for him to go, and he was older, so there's no way he could have gotten out of that cemetery without me hearing or seeing it as fast as he was just there and gone. So I'm pretty sure that he was an apparition trying to tell me something.
Is there a way for you to come about 2 inches this way, or are you all the way over? That's it.
I mean,
Yeah. Because sometimes you're getting cut off on the side. So, what are those live things? Here we go. Oh, now we get snuggly. All right. So, couple things. We did just hear from Freddie Silva. Weather-related power outage.
oh,
So he just now got back online.
that's fun.
So we'll reschedule. So he sends his most sincere apologies. So, all right. Robert says, I think my most haunted memory is when I saw that guard in Eastern State Penitentiary walk past the death row. Saw him clear as day. Yeah, Eastern State's pretty rocking. Sharon Lane. Did Mike ever visit the cemetery at Fort Reno near Oklahoma City? It's very haunted. I have been there, actually. Interesting cemetery because it's segregated between the people that actually worked there, the military folk, and the prisoners of war. So there were there at Fort Reno during World War II as a prisoner of war camp, and there was there were some interesting stories there. Like one of the guys was sent up to Leavenworth for, I'm trying to remember, for killing somebody else or whatever. So interesting stories associated with some of the different people there. There's one it's on his headstone to this day where it says traitor, where he ratted out some of his fellow prisoners of war and things like that. So mostly German prisoners of war. There were a couple of Italian prisoners as well. Remember, there was a point in time in which the Italians were actually against us in the war. They switched sides a little bit. Yeah, to get to that prisoner of war side, it's like you're in the regular section, which is up the hill from the rest of the fort. There's like this metal stairway that you have to like walk up and then walk back down. Because there's no other way in. It's a wall that goes around the whole thing. So the only way in is this stairway that you have to go up and then back down from the regular cemetery. So another thing that we noticed there were like some of the headstones weren't placed conventionally. Normally it's like facing to the east, and this was like every which way you could fathom. It wasn't sure somewhere to the east, but there were some that were like to the north, south. They were like all over the place. It was really kind of weird. So another interesting one about that was the we do actually have a video on Fort Reno. It's one of the Ghosts and Legends episodes, like early on. So this is like old school, not good quality, but it's there. But I think it was one of the it was like the chaplain or something like that had passed away, and they're bringing the body up to the cemetery by horse, and there was a lightning strike. Actually struck the carriage, and so everything was halted, spooked the horses, all that stuff. They started going again. There was another lightning strike. So it was just crazy stuff. So they like hurried up and I think at that point they ditched the horses and just got the casket up there and did everything real quick just to get it done before anything else would happen. So some interesting legends associated with that cemetery for sure. So, and I have been there. It's also right on old historic Route 66. And down the road from that is the old vagabond that they talk about, the old drifter who likes to get into people's cars, jump out in front of people's cars, try to get picked up as hitchhikers, things like that. So it's a pretty spooky area. So, see what you guys got. Tom McNicholas, I was in my basement writing a play about vampires and heard a growl behind me that freaked me out. Very cool. Rika Yamakaze. I saw a woman laying in a cot. She looked sick and just as surprised to see me as her. I was 4 at the time, and my grandma said to me, "Don't worry, child. She's just there and won't hurt you." Interesting. So I like you guys sharing the memories. Betty Lange, also a chilly experience was Wax Jail Museum in Silver City, Colorado. Bad vibes. Not been to Silver City. Been to a few different places in Colorado. All right. Yeah, that's the question from Sharon. Okay, so we're caught up on that. Sisters Wood says we're going to the Whaley house this weekend and a couple of cemeteries. We finally got our ghost kit ready. Awesome. Well, enjoy the Whaley house. We are actually, thanks to Don Francisco, who's down in the chat as Spooky, we are covering the Whaley house in the next Encounters book, Encounters with the Paranormal, Volume 4. Also, Michelle Hamilton did a short, brief piece on the Whaley house back in Encounters with the Paranormal, Volume 2. She actually used to work there years ago. So now she works at the Mary Washington House in Virginia, in Fredericksburg. But yeah, she used to work at the Whaley house, and she had a story in Encounters 2. And Dawn has like a really big feature on the Whaley house for this upcoming Encounters with the Paranormal Volume 4.
This book's going to be pretty good sized.
Oh yeah, there have been a lot of submissions, and some of them are some pretty good size. So we're pretty happy with the turnout. A lot of editing. So Tom McNicholas says he gets freaked out in wax museums. Been a while since I've been to a wax museum.
Yeah. There was one in...
Kind of like dolls, right?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of dolls, really. I've been to a wax museum. I think it was in Branson. Maybe. I don't remember.
I imagine in Branson being kind of a tourist dive, they would have a wax museum sort of place.
Yeah. I mean, Branson is... I loved living there. I mean, if you were bored living in Branson, you weren't trying hard enough to do something with your life. I mean, that place just... It was awesome.
Cool.
And it's a very historic city also. I wasn't looking at it from a paranormal perspective back then because I wasn't into it yet. I wasn't into it
Right, that was
after
before your experience.
Yeah, so this is like way before all that. But
see, I like this down in the chat. There's Dawn giving some advice, some insight into the Whaley house down there. So Sisters Wood, that place is so full of energies. Make sure you investigate the backyard where the suicide was and the hanging. See, I love her Mad Hatters. Looking out for everybody down there. So Betty Lange says, also the basement of a community theater was terribly haunted in Sioux City. Very cool. So, and then Don says, and go to the cemetery right by where Yankee Jim is buried. His ghost haunts the Whaley house. I'm going to have to make it out to the Whaley house. And they've been following us on Twitter for like years. So there is a bit of a connection there.
I'll add it to my list.
Add it to the list. You haven't ever been out to California, have you?
No.
No? Okay.
I've been all over the place out east.
Right.
Nothing out west.
About to get her out there. Of course, I got to take her to Ireland, too.
Yeah, I won't remember anything about the journey there because I'll be sedated.
So, question from Rika Yamakaze. What is the most disturbing EVP you have ever heard?
I mean...
Yours has got to be the one with the soul.
Yeah. Because I'm not really on the demon bandwagon. I've been scratched and shoved, and I've been called, everything that you could think of. I've had stuff thrown at me, large objects, not directly at me, and I still cannot say, yep, that's a demon, But if I had to say one instance where I might ponder that it might have been something other than human, was in the cafe, which we talk about all the time. And one of he's kind of like an honorary team member, pretty much. He became a full-fledged team member. He's probably not watching this. He's very busy. Shame on you, Jacob. And he came in, just innocent, just walked in. And then there was a spirit, and he told us his name was Rhodey. He would always say, it's Rhodey. And he followed us everywhere. Like when we'd run our recorders everywhere, he went with me up in some caves He was in, would be in our vehicles. He would go places with Rita. He'd go, always that's how he would announce himself. It's Rhodey. Well, a couple of weeks probably had gone by. We hadn't heard anything out of him for a while. And we were listening on the audio because, of course, nothing happened. You almost never hear, any of the good stuff in real time. So we listened to the audio, and we hear Rhodey's voice. It's just that same, friendly voice, only this time, after Jacob walks in, he says, "I own that soul." And I mean...
That's a creepy EVP.
And we were like...
I own that soul. It's pretty
we were like,
creepy.
Rhodey? Like our mascot? You're fired, dude. It was just, oh my gosh. Because, I guess a human could say that, but why would a human say that? Unless he was just seriously...
Well, there's some creepers that would say that.
Yeah, well, we were not expecting that, but that would be, the one instance where I was like super creeped out by it, and I've been creeped out by a few EVPs. There's been some times where I'd be listening, and then I see it coming. You see it, like on Audacity or Waypair, where you get the spike, and it's coming, and you're like, and then you hear it, and you're like, whoa, and there's been a couple of them that I've just like completely tossed the headphones, like, nope, nope. Nope, can't go back there ever again, ever. So, yeah, and especially when you hear your name.
The name is weird. The name is always weird.
That's kind of creepy sometimes. Other times it's like, yay, some recognition. Now we're getting somewhere, It's like now we've made that bond. They're like, they know who you are. So I feel like if once they know who you are, that means they're comfortable enough around you that they're like, hey, I know who you are, That's when you find out stuff. May not be what you want to know exactly, but any stuff is good stuff.
So they want you out in California. Sisters would say, come visit us. The OC is waiting for you. You can come investigate Black Star Canyon. I know Michael Scott's done Black Star Canyon. So that'd be very cool. And Tom McNicholas just wants you to know you have to drive through the mountains to get to California.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made that drive. Now, I've more than made that drive. Now, here was the drive.
Oh.
The drive. The drive from... You all know how I travel, and I've just put 300,000 miles on my car and all that stuff. This drive started off in Anchorage, Alaska. Drove the Alcan all the way down. Basically, we ended up going through Edmonton. Then came down through Montana, Idaho, through Nevada, stopped at Sacramento for a while, then drove straight down to L.A., drove the Grapevine, then from L.A. out to Ohio, out to Maryland.
Ugh.
And that is how I moved from Alaska to Maryland.
Wow.
Ooh, that was a hell of a drive. Drove out because it was at the beginning of November and was already snowing in Alaska. Studded tires, right, to get through all those. And there were places on the Alcan back then that were not paved, and you were like, am I still on the road? I mean, there were times, like, actually one of my favorite times of driving was on that drive at night, just before catching back up to the storm, because it was like start driving for a while and then catch up to the storm that we were following. And the moonlight's hitting off the snow, coming up over a ridge, and at the bottom of this hill, there's caribou all over the road. And they were really cool. I just kind of like slowly drove up, and they parted ways, and it was really, really cool. So that was an enjoyable moment. Not paranormal whatsoever, just very cool. Getting on with the animals in Alaska.
Right.
So, in any case, getting back to haunted stuff, Mike Equals Ice Road Trucker. Those studded tires, I drove them all the way to from Alaska to Maryland. They were like done by Maryland. Had to get all new tires because we're supposed to be driving studded tires down here in the States. So it was kind of crazy. Betty Lang is saying our country is beautiful. Mike, yeah, it is. Tom, must have taken you a week. Longer than that. It took 5 days to get out of the whole Alaska Canada thing, just to get down to the what they call the lower 48. Yeah.
I mean, was it worse than our? It had to be worse than our trip back from Manila to the hotel.
Oh my God, that was like, what I call that the hillbilliest day ever, because Google in all of its like wonderfulness, it's trying to take us the most direct route, and there's just some roads in Iowa that aren't paved.
No.
So
not to mention we were having like this downpour mudslide causing storm
that happened toward
on.
the end. Yeah, I mean, it was cool for a while because it was just like lightning.
It was an
for a
epic
long time,
lightning
for like
storm.
hours.
Yeah, it was an epic lightning storm. I mean, it was crazy. The bright spot was meeting the Southern Gypsies in the middle of a nowhere gas station.
In the middle of nowhere, we met the Southern Gypsies, who we're going to have on next week.
Oh my God, you guys. Get ready. Get ready. It's going to be like
it's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. They're a lot of fun. Yep. So Shauna finally got to meet them. I've known them for a few years now. They were there at Ferry. Great set of girls.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
A lot of fun. Shauna also with Mike, if you ever want hard driving, try the Nullarbor. I'm guessing that's somewhere in Australia. And I shouldn't really be like, driving this. I mean, Andrew Cox, I don't know where Andrew is tonight, but he's always driving all over the place in his truck. So, yeah. So, have Mike and Shauna been in the Hudson River Valley in New York State? I have been as a child.
I don't travel.
Yeah. Well, we were living in Massachusetts at the time, and as a kid, we toured that area when we were like younger, and then we kind of spread out a little bit as we got a little bit older, and being older kids, we could handle longer trips. But we did all kinds of my gosh, we were all over the place up in there. So we did upstate New York stuff, so I guess just some stuff to rattle off, and we did like Lake George, Fort Ticonderoga, Lake Placid, and we were talking upstate New York. What else did we do up there? Lake Champlain, Niagara Falls at one point, of course. We did the Finger Lakes region. We would stop. Donna would know the area pretty well, like Corning and all the glassware and all that stuff. That's another part of the state of New York. So I mean, we did all kinds of stuff in New York. So. Did the Catskills at one point, so yeah, a lot of stuff in New York, but not for anything haunted until like recently here. So, okay, what else do we have? Karen Whitaker, night, morning. This lasted for several months, and I started hearing voices in our house. I think that's a second to a first. I don't know. I'm not seeing another message from her, though. I didn't ever answer the EVP question. Donna's saying her grandparents lived in Corning. Cool. Very cool. I don't know if I mean, I've done my EVPs on here so many times. I don't know if I would call any of them, like, really creepy, though.
Got that creepy laugh at Beardstown Opera House.
Got the creepy laugh at Beardstown. Ugh. Yeah. Okay, you chalk that one up. A lot of the EVPs I get are just like weird, like my teeth are warm, and or they make sense, like confirming things that I've seen, or like the spirits that were conspiring not to interact with us and stuff like that. But yeah, that creepy laugh at Beardstown.
I mean, we heard something.
You were,
but it wasn't that.
We had heard. Well, we had first heard something, and you were basically threatening. Shauna likes to do this. Like, if we hear a noise, that of course, you got to debunk it first. And so, if it's not paranormal, it's something human. And if it's something human and it's not us, then it would be somebody who has entered the location
without permission.
Without permission.
Don't do that with me.
So Shauna likes to threaten them.
It's like, you better hope you're not human.
Yep. Yeah. And so Shauna was doing that, threatening the humans who may have been there, which we knew they probably weren't, but you got to do it anyway, just to make sure. And there was just this creepy as hell laugh.
It was like straight out of a commercial haunted house, scary movie type laugh.
I mean, it was
it was ha 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 ha. Watch it.
It was cool.
Look up on our
Watch the
channel,
video.
Beardstown Opera House. And I mean,
that was really crazy. That was a crazy EVP.
And then the slurping sound, whatever that was, like right there near the end, we didn't hear that either.
Yeah, that was really weird.
I don't know what that was.
Oh, that's Vanessa. She sent me the new Daily Tarot file. Yeah, check that out. The slurping, I don't know. That was after we had wrapped up.
Yeah.
We had just done the outro, and it's I can't remember. We're talking about like contacting them to lock up and everything, and there's just this weird. I mean, what in the hell was that? And then there was the tapping, the tap on the camera at one point. It's just weird stuff.
Yeah.
So from Sisterswood, have you ever seen a UFO while investigating?
I've not seen one while investigating, but I can think of a couple of instances where I can definitely say that it was not anything, it was not a plane. Mine was a long time, and this is not even paranormal. It's not even anything that I would even have been interested in back then, and aliens were just like, yeah, I figure they're out there, but I didn't really go out of my way to try to look. But I'm just driving back from school one night, and I see something kind of hovering around up there, and I saw up ahead that other people had like stopped also, and so I was like, what do we do? So I pulled over. I did. There's people, and then I see that they're like looking up at this thing. So I don't know what else was going on, before I got there. But then all of a sudden it's there, and then boom, gone. It was just like nowhere to be found. It moved so fast, and there was like there was nothing. It was there, and then it just shot across the sky, and it was just gone.
I've never actually seen a UFO.
Yeah, everybody like ducked, even though it was because it just went so far when you couldn't even see it. You couldn't even tell where it went. There was like no trace of it whatsoever. I told my dad about it, and I tried to explain. And back then, I was leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to school, and I wasn't getting back till like 10 o'clock at night. Like I had stuff just all spread throughout my day, classes and like music classes, book classes, all kinds of stuff. And
she overworked herself then too.
Yeah. So I tried to explain to my dad, I know I'm tired, but I'm not. But I had witnesses, And like one of the other times, we had a team on the goldenrod, and one of the girls went up there, up on top of the roof with me, to do some like photography of like the stars. It was just beautiful, clear night, and then so it was kind of cold, but we kind of laid down, kind of looking up, and there were. We saw like a couple like shooting stars, but then we saw some stuff that would like, and then stop, and then make like a hard right.
Right.
Or something like that, or whatever. Not your typical falling star behavior. So, and then we both be like, oh, well I don't think that was a falling star. What was it? Don't know.
Yeah. I've never actually seen one, which is. Yeah, I totally believe in them. I definitely believe extraterrestrials exist. People ask me all the time because I talk a lot about shadow people, and I do my shadow person presentation all over the place. There's a question that I get quite often is, are shadow people aliens? Which there's always a possibility of that. So if I will say this, if shadow people are aliens, then I've seen an alien. And there was also the question that was thrown out at Fairy Plantation the other weekend. Are they? Because I talk about how I believe shadow people are interdimensional beings, and so the question gets asked: okay, what if they're interdimensional beings, but they're extraterrestrial interdimensional beings? It's like, that's always a possibility. But as far as the flying saucer sort of stuff and all that, I have not seen. What where I used to work when I was in the military station in Maryland, NSA. There was some stuff that I saw within the systems there. Yeah, it's of course just kind of confirmed what I kind of already suspected. So people, wonder about disclosure and all that, because you see people all the time from, they used to work with these different organizations and, within the government or within the military, et cetera, and, they're always talking about things that they've seen crafts, they've seen the technology and all that stuff. So it's out there. It's just, governments aren't willing to admit it. They're not taking that step yet. So, but while investigating, no. Karen Whitaker had a comment here. Says, so back to the haunted stuff. My first paranormal experience, I was 3 years old, and this shadow figure would visit me in my bedroom every night and hover over my bed around 2 to 3. And I'm going to assume that was supposed to be night. So that's interesting, Karen. I would like to hear more about your shadow person experiences, since I am, in the spare time that I don't have, writing a shadow person book. It's not going to be out this year. I really want that out next year. I really want that out next year.
I have shadow figure experiences, quite a few, but
I have a lot. I have a lot, which is why I talk about it, which is why I have all these different presentations on it. And yeah, shadow people are kind of my thing. Yeah, Donna said haunted Slurpee to the slurping sound. Okay, I'm not getting the Amityville horror thing. So the Amityville house is calling me. Is that what the comment is? Okay, I don't doubt that. Okay, so people living close to military bases, maybe not seen a UFO. Okay, interesting. Yeah, we haven't done a whole lot with, Donna saying that was spam. Okay. We haven't done a lot with UFOs on here. I guess we just haven't had a lot of experiences with it. We stick more toward the haunted, spiritual, that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's all related. I mean, the two worlds, connect with each other. So
we had John on.
We had John D'Souza on talking about that stuff. Yeah. So check out our interview with John D'Souza from last month. That was really interesting. So we even talked about some conspiracy theories and stuff like that, which kind of inspired our conspiracy theory episode that we did. So from Zippy Davis. Hey, Zippy, do you seem to... I don't know what P/U is. You seem to P/U more activity when streaming or making a video. Pick up. Okay, pick up. It's interesting. It's like two different worlds, really. So when we're going live, the whole aspect of going live is, I mean, honestly, as far as like us trying to investigate and pick up on things and ourselves and all of that, going live is a bit of a distraction for all of that. But we continue investigating after the fact, or we've already started investigating before the fact. So we do those live moments with you guys, to share in the experience with you and to see what you guys pick up from the location. So it's a very different type of experience. And there's, I guess, the interaction that we're having with you. It's like a different way of being able to investigate, through the energy that you guys are putting out. It's just different.
Yeah, I like it because, there's stuff that you guys have, that you've seen whenever we're distracted and not seeing it. And then when we go back, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's there. Well, we wouldn't have seen that because, we weren't focused on that. But
yeah, we call you guys like another set of eyes and ears for us. And with many, many of you watching, so many, many more sets of eyes and
then,
ears.
like Vandalia was a good one.
Vandalia was a
too,
great example, and that wasn't even YouTube Live. That was Facebook. That was before YouTube was doing it on the live on the mobile devices.
I think Donna. I think you had tuned in. I know Bonnie did. Vanessa. I mean, all of our
we had all kinds of psychic mediums that were tuned in on that one.
And,
it was great.
Picking up on stuff, and Chris, our friend Chris Mason, who we need to come to Vandalia again if you're watching. And I know he was impressed by the things that you guys were picking up on, because having not been to the location before, and you were basically citing some of his experiences and stuff, and things that you were picking up on that he had been picking up but hadn't said anything yet, and so that's my favorite part of lives.
I like these sisters over here. Says, we'll have to catch up on all your vids. Friday Night Pizza, wine, and 100 Road Media vids.
Don't forget the Dove Dark Chocolate for dessert.
There you go. I'm down with the wine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. From Emma, have you ever had to walk out of an investigation because of the amount of activity?
Yep.
I know you have.
Oh, yeah. Me, yes. Basically fear for my life, at one point.
You guys had a bookcase thrown at you.
Well, yeah. So. Who wouldn't walk out at that point?
Yeah.
It was that turning point when I realized that, oh, hey, all these times that I thought that, they couldn't hurt you, maybe that's not true anymore. So I deemed it probably a wise choice to not go back into the building for the night. And I mean, there's been other times too where it's just like forgetting your stones that you come to rely on and stuff like that. And then like not being able to look in any room, just keep blinders on the whole time.
Yeah, we had to take you back downstairs to get your stones.
Yeah,
yep.
Because it just felt like there was just something just trying to, get at me. It's not like, I was actually scared. And this was in a building that I'd been in, before many times, but just not that night. And then I realized, oh my God, I left my stones. So now we know what happens whenever I go in just with nothing. Which confirms for me that if you truly believe in crystals, and like people use like runes, oils, pendant, whatever you use, whether it be a religious symbol, a non-religious, whatever you use. If you have faith in it to work, it's going to work. So that you feel like naked without it. You feel like vulnerable without it. Too open. And, there's sometimes I get brave. We go in there and be like, I'm not going to use anything. I'm just going to go for it. And there's sometimes I don't. Like, when we go into Mineral Springs, I don't always take, I have it out like in my bag or whatever, or I might just stick one in my pocket. But the other stuff that I carry with me goes up here. So, and I usually always have a shadokite stone, and I have an amethyst and a lapis, and then a clear quartz to kind of amp it all up. So that's what I carry.
As far as me, I haven't really ever felt the need to walk out of an investigation. There have been moments where it's been like, okay, I need to get out of this room right now. And that happened this past weekend.
Yeah.
Where it was like, it just became too much. Okay, let me get out of this room for right now. Went downstairs, took a break, felt a lot better, and then I was able to go right back up. So never out of an entire investigation like that, like we're going to leave the building or anything like that. But, to take a break from a room, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, you're going to, not next weekend, but the weekend after is going to be the cafe show. You guys are really going to hear some stories in. Is
Rita in for that?
Rita's in for that.
Okay. The other one that I guess we did leave early from, and it wasn't because of anything paranormal, but it was the one night that we were out there at Blackbird Church. This is, of course, before you, but it was the night I got the EVPs of my teeth are warm and all that stuff, where it was the coyotes. The coyotes just kept coming close. We actually went into the cemetery to get safe from the coyotes, which is, because the church was wide open. You know, they could just walk right into the church, but the cemetery at least had a gate. So we originally went over to the cemetery to get out of the church because the coyote, you could hear them coming. You know, they were howling and they were getting closer and closer and closer. So it's like, okay, let's go over to the cemetery. And so, yeah, we actually weren't out there too long because of those coyotes. So you know, we did a quick little thing in the cemetery till we deemed that they were far enough away that we could, you know, slip out of the gate. And even then, I'm still like, let me do one last lap. I know Logan and Kathy were like, what is he doing? We need to go. But yeah, that's where I got the my teeth were worm EVP. And then when I came back out, and I was, you know, putting my bag in the car and all that, that's when we heard the walking coming down the road. It was like, you know, here come the locals. They're gonna be pissed, you know. But then we drove down the road and there was nobody, because we were gonna explain, hey, we're just out here checking stuff out, you know, don't mean any harm, that sort of thing. But there's nobody, so it's pretty wild. So Donna Gordon saying, thanks for the validation, Shauna. Cool. Yes, it was a bookcase. Karen is saying, maybe they wanted you to read something, Shauna.
They were very serious about me reading those books in that bookcase. It was, that was definitely probably one of the more significant moments, and it will always be at the very top of, you know, times that I've been scared while investigating. So Kathy Stiliento is asking, have you ever been to Myrtle's Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana? I have not been to Louisiana, but not Myrtle's Plantation. That's on the list.
It's on the list. Betty Lange, you ever wish you could have done something more or different after it's over? Yeah, not use a flash on the big ball of black mist in Taliesin's bedroom at the Edmond house. I tell that story all the time now during my Shadow Person presentation, because it was a really crazy, intense moment with a big shadow mass. And I used a flash to try to take a picture of it, which was stupid because it just the light obliterated the room, and yeah, of course I didn't capture it on camera. But if I would not have used the flash, I probably would. It's kind of like, you haven't seen it. Whoever's seen Hereditary, when she sees the apparition of the mom and turns the lights on, and then apparition is like instantly gone. It's kind of like what happened with me taking a photo of the black shadow mist. I, you know, hit the button, poof, you know, the light illuminated the room. The shadow was gone, but then once the light had subsided, it was like, boom, there it is back again. And because it's a flash, it's like, boom, that quick. Yeah. You know, so it was like, okay. It's weird. So that was a mistake. Yeah.
I mean, there's been a few times in investigations where I wish that, you know, maybe I'd hung around a little longer.
Oh, I know. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off midstream, but the yellow translucent ball of light at Goldenrod, all our batteries were dead.
Yeah.
All of our batteries were drained, so we didn't have a camera, right? Except I had a phone in my pocket I could have fired up.
Yep, that'll be mine too.
Could have fired that up. I didn't think of it. There was a phone in my pocket. Could have fired it up and taken something. So, but you know, we were investigating all night. Phones are off, all that stuff, and you're just thinking, oh, you know, got the video camera still here in my hand. It's dead. You know.
Yep.
So, yeah. Let's see. What else you guys have? Pungai Fungi's wondering how big the bookcase was.
I mean, it was about had like the legs, and then it had a shelf that was full of books, and then it had another shelf that was full of books, and then it had stuff sitting on top of it. So probably about knee high, maybe a little taller than that.
Still a good sized bookcase.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and whatever it was strong enough to pick it up and throw it just across a room. It was, and then it came flying across the room, and the last person that was exiting the room, if they would have waited just a second longer, they would have been nailed right in the back with it. And so I was out of the building first. Just because before anything, we were hearing stuff upstairs, but just before anything really started happening downstairs, I had this blast of fear. I'm out of here, you know, and so I grabbed my stuff and I'm out, I'm running, you know, and then everybody else is getting their stuff, and then, but I got out of the building, but I'm still in the doorway, you know, looking, because my friends are in there, and, but I'm watching the events as they unfold in the room, you know, so I'm there, you know, to see all this stuff going on. And then while we were out of the building, we didn't even lock it. I mean, because that would have involved sticking an arm or a hand back in there and opening that door again. And there was no way we were doing that. I didn't know what was going on in there afterwards. I didn't want to know. Our skeptic that was with us was just running around in the road on the property. He was like, what do I do? Where do I go? What did I see? You know, that's a hell of a way to become a believer. You know, full-blown skeptic that night, and no longer. He's probably scared of his shadow right now. So whenever we tried to get back in the building with my father, because he's like acts as a buffer against all that, nothing ever happens. So he went and we had to, you know, really push hard to get that door open. So the bookcase had ricocheted off of the corner of the door frame into the next room and went in and knocked over another that had another shelving unit that had stuff on it, and knocked it over, and it pushed some like clothes. It was a mess. It looked like a tornado blew through there. But there was the bookcase that I know did not stop at the door was up against the door. Like, you could not get in without really putting some back into it. And he said, he was like, what happened in here? You know, and we explained it, but then he walked through and was seeing the damage. And he went into the back room looking stuff, and he said, and there were tools, and there were like these little tool cabinets and stuff just all over the place. Like, and he knew where all of that stuff, you know, was at, because my dad helped with some of the remodeling in that building. And so he's very well versed in the tool department, and he knew where everything was and what had its place and whatnot. He said it looked like someone was dumped stuff out just looking for something. He goes, don't go back in this building. I'm like, no, we got to go back, you know.
Right.
Now we really have to go back, you know, because we didn't know. We didn't know what in the world that was. So, an angry human spirit? I mean, there was so much going on all at one time that there was no way that one human spirit could be in all of these different areas in the room at the same time.
Could be several.
I mean, we're talking about, you know...
I don't know. I haven't been to the cafe yet.
Yeah, the chain of events that night. Just ripping this coming off, this being shoved out of the way as this stuff was going on, and this bookcase is flying over, and the door... It was...
It's a crazy night.
It was a crazy night. Yes.
So, per Butterfly, can some EVPs only be heard when audio is played in reverse? I heard crystal clear whisper that didn't sound distorted whatsoever. I've heard that some EVPs can be heard that way. Here's the thing, though, is that not many people really think about listening to stuff in reverse. So
I never would have thought.
Yeah, so it's kind of like almost... It's like every once in a while somebody will throw something out there. Well, I tried this one in reverse and here's what I got. Okay, cool. I don't ever really think to, because I don't think spirits usually talk in reverse. I don't know. It's kind of, some EVPs are just so hard anyway that you're kind of like, okay, there's something here. Maybe it's this, and you throw it in reverse, and it's like, maybe it sounds like something a little bit more clear, but are they really talking in reverse, or is it just your brain trying to figure out what it was? But you're saying you had one that was crystal clear. I mean, I'm not going to doubt you, but I don't usually try to listen to them in reverse.
Yeah, I would have never thought of it.
Yeah. So I remember the show Lost in the second season with Walt, when he was making his kind of weird appearances here and there that they didn't ever divulge it in the show, but the Lost community, because there was a lot of people like out on different Lost forums and stuff like that, figuring out all the different secrets of the island and stuff like that, and people have figured out that, hey, he's actually speaking in reverse and was saying things like, don't push the button's bad and stuff like that. So for those of you that watched Lost, I'm sure there were several. Saw some other questions down here, or did I just blow by them? Oh, that was the bookcase question. From Kenny Orton, Mike and Shauna, have you ever tried the use of a black light or infrasound? Yeah, I do have a UV light, black light flashlight. I haven't really gotten much with it. There's an idea out there that people have kind of been playing with for a few years now, that perhaps spirits are afraid of regular flashlights. They're too bright or whatever, and that's why you don't get a lot of a spirit directly in your flashlight. And so maybe the use of UV light, it's a different wavelength, it's a different color, stuff like that. And I just haven't really gotten anything. It makes for a cool light, as far as like the color and all that. So I've got some interesting blue footage. It's supposed to be like purple or whatever, but it comes out blue on my camera. So I haven't had much luck with it, but I do have one. Infrasound, I haven't played with infrasound. So, yeah, like Tom getting all upset about who hit the dislike button. Yeah, who did that?
Well, if you're still watching, you should know that dislike button didn't do anything.
No.
You're still watching.
So, from Betty Lange, Mike and Shauna, do you ever get vibes from an antique shop where old items are sold?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Especially like the antique shops in Alton, and stuff like that, because those are some old historic buildings anyway. And then you add in, all of these, antiques and stuff that are in them.
Yeah, there's I don't know, I've had a lot of interesting, as far as like vibes in antique shops. Even as a kid, when we would go to some of these old towns and visit little shops and stuff like that, even if it wasn't like an antique shop, maybe it was just a gift store in an old building or whatever, I'd get vibes out of that. I remember going to, I don't know, there were always like little gift shops, and they had the wooden floors, and the floors would creak as you'd walk in there, and I don't know, sometimes it'd be selling like Christmas stuff, or they'd have the candles going or whatever, and it was just like, so you'd have the cool smell, and you'd have the old smell back behind the whatever the candle scents were, and just, yeah, you had the creak of the floors, and it was just always cool.
That's the way those antique shops are.
Yeah.
In Alton too, I loved them.
So from Tracy, where is the most haunted place you've ever been to? Most haunted place. That's tough. There's a lot of really haunted places I've been to.
Cafe for me.
Cafe for you. Yeah, it's probably easy for you. I mean, I talk about like my favorite haunted places. I don't know what would take it from most haunted. I don't know. I always talk about Stone Line Inn as a favorite haunt. It was very haunted as well. Mineral Springs is very haunted all through that place. And that has like a lot of different areas, a lot of different rooms that are haunted within there. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of different places. That was the antique question. So from Sharon Lane, is Cahokia, Illinois on an energy grid line? Do you have more experiences on grid lines? We're supposed to be talking about that tonight with Freddie. He probably would have gotten a question very similar to that, if not Cahokia, which is right down the road. I was going to talk to him a little bit about Spiro Mounds, which I was at a few weeks back. It's actually in Oklahoma, but it was just over the border from the event that I was at in Arkansas. And that complex there at Spiro was connected with Cahokia. But yeah, energy grid lines, I mean, that's kind of it's kind of the whole reason why these locations were built there, was so that they could access the energy there and be able to do things more with their spirituality. So, even as a ghost, as a spirit, or what have you, it's going to give them more energy to be able to do stuff. And I know you said that the cafe was at a crossing of those lines, so boom, there you go.
So after hearing that, and researching that a little bit more, that made all kinds of sense. So, and I mean, that place just invited. It would seem like it was a portal of some kind, or as we used to call it, a 7-Eleven or a truck stop for spirits, because there was just so many different ones in and out all the time. The same ones were there, that we interacted with, on a daily, on a weekly, basis. But then there were just different voices in there all the time, and we had no idea where they came from. So, kind of chalk it up to that. Yeah.
So, ley lines, and actually, there's a difference, and that was something I was going to have Freddie kind of like explain like early on. Was there's actually a difference between ley lines and energy grid lines, and so. One is more, I guess one is more physical and more geological in nature, and then the other is like just the magnetism, the energy within the earth. And so I was going to let him better explain that to us, because we talked about that last month during our ley lines episode, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get Freddie on here. Was I've known about Freddie for a while, but putting that episode together, I was accessing a lot of his material that's out there, that's online, through some of the different presentations and things like that he's given, because like I said, he's like the foremost expert on this. And so it's like, put that episode together, it's like, let's get him on here and actually talk about it so that we can get it from him. But yeah, he talks about all of those different things, about how that their whole point was to just even from setting up the standing stones the way that they are, to set up the resonance within there, and so that they could enter this location and experience that energy, to be able to access like their spiritual centers and things like that. And it's funny, he's a very spiritual guy. He talks about just watching some of his interviews out of his house, and which probably where he was at today, where he lost power at, but he has like different stones set up around his house. They all do different things to kind of set up his his house and the energy that he wants there. And he also talks about when he goes to these different locations, because he'll give like tours in Peru and things like that. And while he's talking about it, he's at these different energy centers, he's like, the energy's still there, and he'll have a hard time sometimes. He says he'll be like bumbling through some of these different presentations, or really tours that he's giving. He's talking about the area that it's at, and he's like, he's still hearing like these voices and people talking to him about the location while he's sitting there trying to talk about it. So it's like kind of disconcerting for him. So it was a lot of interesting things that I think we're going to get into tonight. So Again, many apologies from Freddie, and we'll get him on. It'll have to be next month. Because we're booked up for... Well, we're booked up through October 9th right now. So we'll just have to do that. So yeah, B3 Airspace, best vibes I ever got was at Stonehenge, 1980s, awesome, freaky, wonderful place, and Egypt. Yeah, definitely. I know Adam Tiller's probably lurking out there. Adam Tiller was at Stonehenge here just a couple months ago. So go ahead, Adam, admit it, you're lurking. Yeah, Karen, hint, hint, Mike wants to go to the cafe. You think?
I want to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dry.
The problem is the floor is out.
Yeah, the floor is out in the front part of the building. It's 2 floors, and then the cellar. You open the front door and about a foot or two in, and there's the cellar. So, is the building structurally sound enough to have human weight in it? Don't know, but there's only one way to find out. So,
From Samantha, it's either dryling or drilling. Question: when are you going to be back in the Virginia Beach area? I know, I was just there. Probably. We'll have to see. I mean, I've been doing the Ferry Plantation for the last several years now, around September time frame. A little bit further west now, so that makes that trip a little bit more difficult. So we'll see how it turns out. If it happens, it'll be next year. So. So yeah, and I agree, Betty. Betty says it's a good night tonight. Interesting chat room, interesting host, good mods. Thank you. Phone guy's wondering if you were held liable for the damage done in the cafe.
No, I mean, there's been a lot of floods come in there, and I think, and since there was a really big one in 1993. And there was a really big one in 1973. And I mean, that place, like every year the water comes up. Every couple of years. And then every like 10 years or so, there's a big one. And it's just, over the years, the elements have just really, the building's really just taken a beating.
I love this guy, Tom McNicholas. $10 super chat from Tom McNicholas, since you're only doing one show. Thanks, Tom. Absolutely appreciated. I always really appreciate the super chat superstars.
Yeah. So yeah, we weren't, the cause for the floor caving in. As for like the bookcase and the stuff flying around, I mean, the owner at the time, the rule was, whatever we did, as long as we, put things back together, made sure that, we just picked up our mess. Sometimes stuff happened. We'd leave, stuff around for spirit, the child spirits to play with, and we, would sprinkle little, powder and stuff upstairs on the floor, so we could see if any footprints were left.
It sounds like you guys kind of did a little bit of everything while you were up there. Should save some of this for the cafe episode.
I know. I'm not going to talk about the cafe anymore. Rita, though, has, man. Mm-hmm. And then there had been times when she'd been in there without me, and because, most of my jobs require me to work nights, let's be honest. And there'd be some times that I would work and wouldn't be able to, get in there. And then she has some stories just, on her own of stuff that happened in there without me. So expect a good show that weekend. That's going to be a good one.
There you go.
We're going to try to see if we can get a hold of, I know the EVPs are on the her YouTube channel.
Oh,
so, but then I have some that are on a disc, I think. So
you have to dig that up.
I'll have to dig that up.
So from Sean Gilmore, a tech question. What type of lighting or camera filters do you think are best for investigating? Interesting question. So by nature, my first inclination would be don't use filters. That would be more natural. However, I get that for specific lighting situations, since you're like recording and all that stuff, that going without a filter whatsoever can like make the contrast on that really bad. Like when trying to go live from Old Licking County Jail, I'd gotten that new big LED light, and trying to use that, it was like just washing everything out, so that didn't make it show up on the camera very well. So it has a little amber filter that I threw in there, which kind of toned that down a little bit. It also had an adjustable knob back there for helping out with that too. So I would say try to stay as natural as you can, but in those situations, if you want to throw on like an amber filter or something like that, maybe even a cool filter, those would probably be all right. Maybe even red in some cases, depending on what you're trying to capture. As far as like type of cameras, I mean, if you got the money to throw down on a 4K, by all means, HD or better, and make sure it's a good quality one, because there are some that like technically classify as an HD camera and just come out all pixelated and everything anyway. So that's our tech segment for the evening. So from April, have you guys encountered anything like an old Indian reservation? If so, did Shauna ever experience or encounter an Indian spirit? How do they vary from other spirits? Well, I mean, I was just talking about being at the Spiro Mounds. That's an old Indian spiritual center. I've been to. I mean, I used to live out in Oklahoma, so there's all kinds of Native American stuff out there. But
the cafe was built on top of a Native American campsite. I mean,
and the grade school was on an archaeological dig that was specifically for
a burial mound. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was a burial mound.
If you look at an aerial view of, I mean, it's just nothing but just.
Yeah. Well, it was a Native American archaeological dig site.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a burial site though.
Yeah, they found. I'd like to get more information on that, because apparently there was a block of time there where they couldn't put anything else there because they were finding so much stuff. But the cafe, well,
the cafe was on the campsite, and then the school was whatever the heck was back there. I mean, it was all part of the same encampment. Right. So it's just different portions of it.
Yeah. We did have a Native American spirit in the cafe. And in fact, we did capture an audio. We have an audio clip of him saying something.
We'll try to find that for the cafe episode.
Yeah. And
otherwise, we're not going to have much for a cafe episode. It's going to be like, just watch this video.
The Smithsonian wanted to keep it.
Smithsonian wants to get their hands on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they want to keep that, and we're like, nope.
You want to talk about, especially what they did with this area, all throughout the Midwest. That was a cricket trying to jump through the door. We're back in the late 1800s. I forget the guy's name that headed up the Smithsonian. This is why the Smithsonian gets such a bad rap. I don't know if they necessarily take the same viewpoints these days. They try to say that they're completely innocent, and it's like, no, because it's pretty much a fact that, and I forget his name, that in the late 1800s that the Smithsonian, the guy who headed it up, basically anything that they discovered that was quote unquote pre-Columbian, meaning pre the discovery, quote unquote discovery of America by Christopher Columbus, was automatically discarded because it was heathen. It could not possibly be Christian. So therefore, if it wasn't Christian, it wasn't counted as real history. And so any of like these different like burial sites, people talk a lot about like the different giant skeletons and things like that were discovered. All that they basically just destroyed. So, but that was a lot of that was through this area here in Illinois, where I was at in Ohio. I've been to a number of those different mound areas in Ohio as well, like the Great Circle Earthworks. Very, very interesting locations. In fact, both the Great Circle Earthworks and Spiral Mounds, I had all kinds of weird stuff going on with my equipment. Where the Spiral Mounds, just the broadcasting, trying to go live from there. That was something I was going to ask Freddie about, was the energy off of those mounds. You were able to go up on one of the mounds at Spiral. They have a path that goes up there. It was not a burial mound. Only about 80-85% of Native American mounds were actual, or 80-85% were not. There was only a very small percentage that actually were burial mounds. That one was not. You're able to go up there and just the broadcast was terrible. It kept cutting out, disconnecting, all that, and get down off the mound, and then things were okay. It was broadcasting. It was still pixelated because we're out in the middle of nowhere, but it was broadcasting without any disconnects. And then at the Great Circle Earthworks, took my drone out there fully charged, and I had it. I'm supposed to get 24 minutes off the charge, and I didn't even have it up there 5 minutes, and it's screaming at me that it's out of battery. So yeah, there's something about those sites that they're crazy. And we have in Australian $10 super chat from Converse Conversation. Or Converse Conversation. Very cool. Awesome show, XOXO. Thank you very much. Absolutely appreciate that. Really, really do. So you guys are awesome tonight. So that could have been not necessarily Native American spirit, but the energy there from a location, an energy center that was constructed by ancient Native Americans.
Right.
And I keep hitting the microphone. Okay. There's more conversation here about ley lines. I know there's a question in there from Lynn's about ley lines. And we have the Sisters Woods. I like you guys. I like our new Mad Hatters. All right.
Oh.
So they're asking, and thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Is this good for a kit? Rods, Timp gun, PSB 7 K2. So Timp gun good, K2 rods. I'm assuming you mean dowsing rods. You got to be honest about it. So the thing about dowsing rods, if you try to show that as evidence, a lot of people are not going to believe you because of how easily they are manipulated.
That would be me. And
that's Shauna. So, so I think for your own personal curiosity, they're fine. My good friend Copperhead Greg Graham uses them a lot, and he does a thing where he points them downwards, so that the only thing that can make them move is or cross is gravity. But still, a lot of people are very, very skeptical of that, even though he tries really hard to present the method. That should work. So that's up to you on that one. As far as the PSB 7, we don't like spirit boxes. Shauna had a rant last week about it.
I ran it. I'm going to keep it civil this time and nice and short and sweet. I think that the reason that people use them and like them so much is because the paranormal to some people is boring without it. I mean, they want that
people
response.
They want the quick response.
And they get it with those. But my own personal opinion, and everybody that uses them can say I'm wrong, and I don't care. It's radio feedback.
Most of it's radio feedback.
Some of those apps and boxes are programmed, designed to spit stuff out at you.
Well, I've been being in the computer industry, and I have a degree in simulation programming. I know how those things can be manipulated as far as the apps and all that. I mean, to me, to each their own. If you really want to use it, fine. I mean, you can. I mean, it's not during an investigation with me.
No.
I've been there. No. And I've been there for some, and it's I can take it for a little bit, and that's it. They give me a headache for one.
And it's distracting.
Yeah.
And then, knowing how they work, I just
I have on occasion seen some stuff that, like John Ward, Ohio Paranormal Syndicate, they do use the SB7, and they had an EVP that and see, the thing, it didn't come off the device itself. It was external to the device. So it was like the EVP was responding to the SB7, which was just generating radio garbage. But then there was like an audible, deeper type voice that came across responding to that. So it was kind of an interesting moment.
Or you could just take off the antenna entirely, so it's nothing but white noise.
Yeah, I've heard stuff come over white noise, and so there's been some cases where it's like, okay, so I believe that one, I believe that one, but I've also seen people just, any drop of a hat of any sort of word or phrase that they hear come across that, and it's like, no, that was definitely radio.
Especially if it's your own voice.
Well, coming out of the apps just from the way they're programmed. So, what I would say for a kit, you need an audio recorder in there. I didn't see that in your list. So some sort of audio recorder so you can do some EVP work. You want to be able to do that. For me, a basic kit is a flashlight, an audio recorder, and a camera. A K2 would be nice.
A lot of batteries.
And a
ghosty.
Oh, and a ghosty.
Because the kids love the ghosty. We approve of that. Yeah, we do. They like ghosty, and ghosty glows in the dark.
And then we have Mickey Dole with a $9.99 $10 super. I know the mobile sometimes goes with the 99s. Thanks for a good show, Mike and Shauna. Don't have to read this out. Just happy to. Well, I read it out. Thank you, Mickey Dole. Absolutely appreciated. So Sisters Wood, I hope that answers your questions about a basic kit. We have other that we've thrown now, but you don't really need it. We got along just fine for years, with just the basics. Audio recorder and flashlight.
Your body, yourself.
Yes, your body's your best tool.
Is your best tool.
Your body's your best tool. Trust your feelings. Trust your instincts.
Yeah, and don't forget that. Don't talk at them. Talk to them. They're people too.
Right.
You may not be able to see them the same that you can see each other, or that you can see other people, but they're still people too. So they should be treated like people.
Yeah. And there was the other ley line question that I knew Lynn's asked. Do ley lines correspond to tectonic plates? So I guess to some degree that they do, and that's what I wanted Freddie to clear up. Because ley lines apparently are supposed to be more geological, where the energy grid lines are supposed to end telluric energy. That's what they call it. It's supposed to be more with the magnetic lines within the Earth. So, whenever we have him on, we'll have him clear that up.
Yeah, that will be a very enlightening show.
It will.
Because he's awesome.
Let's see. From several oops. Oh, they said it was buffering. What do you mean it's buffering? Video output low. Uh-oh. We lost it somewhere.
Hello, Frontier.
Well, we'll try to work through it. From several Mad Hatters, what do you think about train tracks as conductors, or just having a lot of energies around them? Your metal on rock, possibly.
Railroad bridges are always on it.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are.
Yeah, a lot of people hang themselves on them. That railroad bridge there, and the one that we went to, here in Illinois. It's got a lot, especially at night. I guess some of those were happening some of the reports of the hangings and stuff were happening like at night. So it would make sense that at night, I guess, would be when the energy would probably be stronger. But I don't know about the building materials used. But it's a good question.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept. You know, the metal on top of the rock with the energy underneath. Could the train tracks send that energy along? I mean, we know it happens with electrified tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a good question. It's a good question. I wouldn't know for certain. So, and yeah, I caught the messages about the buffering, but we're kind of at the mercy here. I mean, I don't want to reset anything because that would sever the entire connection. There's only so much I can do. So I guess we'll just answer a couple more here and wrap it up. So from Conversation, where is the cafe?
The cafe is located in Campsville, Illinois, right in the middle of town. And if you look up, actually you could look it up on YouTube or on Google. If you Google search it, just type in CBC Cafe and River Treasures, or look up, or in
Would it still
Campsville.
come up as that? Because it's been closed for a long time. And that was another question that was in there. Is it still open? No, it's closed.
Yeah, no, it's closed. But we've done so many investigations and so many other groups have been there.
Oh, it'd come up
for an
investigation.
it'll
come up on an
come up.
investigation page, yeah.
And yeah, you'll definitely. So CBC River Treasures or CBC Cafe and River Treasures, Campsville, Illinois. Campsville with a K.
Sean Oldsmith, what do you think about taking a biosensor EG, or I guess it's supposed to be a biosensor or a dog? I think that's what he's saying, on an investigation. Pets on investigation are, I mean, I guess here's the thing. I'm mixed on it. I mean, animals are more sensitive to the paranormal than we. So I've been in situations. I mean, the Haunted episode, it was on Animal Planet, so it featured the cats. I've shown many times on this channel, and also during the Shadow Person presentations, the deleted scene clip from that with the reaction of the cat, how I followed the cat to the room and saw the black mass. The cat's going crazy in the backyard. So, yeah, they're more sensitive to the paranormal than we are. I guess my conscience comes into play sometime. Do I want to knowingly take an animal into a haunted location, knowing that they may negatively react to something that's there?
Oh wait, that's a cafe story. Never mind.
All I said was you can't tell all of them.
I know, but it was an animal story, so okay, I'm gonna save it.
I'm just gonna give Shauna her own show, more stories from the cafe.
I'm gonna write a book someday.
You have to, because you've had a ton of stories from there. So, Dave Styles. Hey Dave, how's it going? What would be good to use for audio in a concrete tower? Well, I guess I would just use my regular audio recorder.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing different there.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to be broadcasting through a concrete tower.
Broadcasting's
not going to work.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to work. It would be a film now, view later type of deal, which we do a lot of, seems like, especially in some of the places where we just get too deep down, where there's no signal, or out in the middle of nowhere, which happens a lot, and there's no film now, watch later.
Let's see what else we got. I didn't get the whole question there. It's like half a question. Is Annette Kirkwood what? It says per conversation is Annette Kirkwood, and then there's nothing else. So
YouTube ate it.
I guess YouTube ate it. Okay. I guess I've had a lot of great questions tonight. Just want to say. Okay, from April, what do you think about pendulums? Is that actually spirits moving it or your own energy? It's a good question.
Yeah.
So,
because I have one. I've tried to use it, but I always second guess whether or not it's actually me or...
Yeah, I've noticed it's hard because my friend Sabrina gave me one at Old Licking when it just like... She showed me some of her different stones and stuff that she had. What?
Cameron's in there somewhere.
Cameron's in there? Cool. Hey, Cameron.
Speak in all caps so we can see you.
And get off Shauna's phone. She's doing a show.
She was trying to figure out how to get in.
But yeah, it was a tiger eye pendulum, and I picked up. It was like buzzing in my hand, and she's like, "Well, it never called out to me. It's calling out to you, so you take it." So, and I've played around with it a little bit, and she was kind of showing me how to use it, but I can see where it's kind of like difficult. It would take some practice to get the hang of it, because I could see where you just a little bit. You move your hand a little bit, and all of a sudden it's moving.
So a more interesting way would be to, like my dad did with the rods. I'm going to have to bring it on the show one time and show you what he did. He made this little picture frame.
Oh, that box,
wooden box, and it's got things where you can still hold on to the rod so that your energy is there, but you cannot move it visibly.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuck. I mean, you can't move it without being noticeably fake about it. So the same thing might be interesting with a pendulum, where
maybe,
as long as you're able to, your energy is, there, could you get, the energy from whatever to move it if you're not touching it and moving it yourself.
Yeah, when she was showing it to me at Old Licking, she was, trying to show me how to steady it and hold it straight. Like, there's a way you wrap it over your fingers or whatever. And she started me off with, okay, show me your yes, show me your no. And I didn't move. And the yes movement was definitely different than the no movement. It changed up. And so I tried that at Spiro Mounds, and you guys didn't really get a whole lot of that on the broadcast because it was just, we were on the mound. I'm like, here, let me bring out the pendulum on the mound. It made sense, right? So you guys got like 3 seconds of seeing me like kneeling there with the pendulum. And if anybody from Dark Knight Paranormal is watching, they can attest to how that first attempt, there was some movement there and my hand was not moving. Now, the second time that I attempted it, after we'd gone down off the mound and come back up and all that, it wasn't working. I know my hand was moving, so I just negated everything that was happening. I was like, no, it's moving, but that was my hand shook or whatever, and just...
I second guess all of the stuff like that, dowsing rods, but I've seen them move inside the box, and I knew it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I've seen them move when I'm nowhere near them in the box. So, and I've got 2 of them, I think. So, a pretty cool contraption, if I do say so myself.
Oh, okay. Donna saying, Converse Conversation is Annette Kirkwood. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Okay, I didn't understand that from before. Okay. And there's Cameron.
Yeah.
Right there. She's saying Shauna. All right, very cool.
She's ask a question in there, she said.
Well, I'll have to
and
hunt
we're not
for
getting to it, so
yeah.
she
so
says,
the stream is back up. Apparently it crapped out and we lost about 10 of our viewers from that. Sorry about that. It's getting a little bit late anyway.
Where is the next investigation gonna be? That was her question.
Well, it needs to go in there. She needs to get in line just like everybody else.
She did.
Well, then what do you...
Because we didn't answer it, so...
Well, no, get off the phone. Get off the phone. You're supposed to... I'm going to ban phones from out here. Where you're supposed to be, boom, here. Come on, be professional.
I am professional.
You be off your phone. You don't see me on my phone.
Really? Are you going to go there, Mr. I'm on my phone 24/7, even when I'm driving and being unsafe about it?
And not during the show.
She's never done this before. I'm cutting her some slack.
So, where are we at? What was her question?
Where's the next investigation going to be?
Oh, that's at...
Actually, not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, our next Well, we have one scheduled for October 27th. That's going to be our
Our
Halloween
special.
special. But there'll be other stuff in between there. We just haven't really scheduled it. Like this coming weekend, we know that there will be something on Saturday night. We just don't know what yet.
Yeah.
So
Saturday will be at It's Raining Zen making my own zombie doll.
there you go. There you go. Let's see. Why are spirits stronger at night? From April, they're not necessarily stronger at night.
I've had a lot of stuff happen at night, but I've had a lot of really crazy stuff happen during the day too. I mean, you would think that it would be more active during the day because that's when, everybody was awake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people try to test stuff to the moon or the different hours of the day, or during a certain set of hours that energy or magnetism of the earth is this, that, or the other thing. But if you just look at reported hauntings, they happen all different times of day. A lot of these historic locations that where the curators or docents or tour guides or whatever are reporting information, well, they're giving those tours during the day. So all that activity is happening during the day. Of course, people do experience a lot of different things at night. So it's just, I don't know if it's necessarily stronger. I think it's always throughout.
It might be more noticeable at night because things are quieter then.
That's true. Yeah, you don't have as much noise pollution and all that, which is one of the reasons why we investigate at night, is so you don't have as much noise pollution. I think people's senses are heightened. You're kind of more aware of what's going on around them because your sight is reduced. So maybe you hear some more things, or maybe you see shadows a little bit more because it's that time of the day where you see more stuff like that. So let's see, from Sean Oldsmith, are pyramids around the world on ley lines? Yeah. That's kind of why they built them where they are, is they knew where those energy grid lines were, and they built them there on top of those locations to tap into that energy. Yep, absolutely. Tom McNicholas saying there are ley lines in Chicago. Yeah, well, ley lines go all over, so yeah. That's scrolled all the way to the bottom. We're going to have to wrap it up soon. I'm losing my voice. John Oldsmith suggests that I should use a pendulum with an SLS camera. So from Donna, as far as pendulum, if it has a stone at the end, you have to rotate it with the stone for it to work too. Okay. Okay, I think we got all those, which is good. And what else do we have? From Betty Lange, why not do a live stream on haunted crafts? You're not really a crafty type person.
I'm not a crafty type person. I mean, I'm just not crafty. I can make those candles.
You make those candles. Yes, you make those candles.
Yeah.
That's about as crafty as you get.
That's about as crafty as it gets for me.
And I made the hand fasting cord. It's probably about as far as like that kind of crafts, is about as crafty as I get. I have done some woodworking and stuff like that. With my father, I have to have done woodworking. So
I assume that's the type of crafting that you're referring to.
Let's see. From Sean G. Oh, and it just blew right by. I hate it when that happens. Have you ever used a compass on an investigation? I mean, there's been a time or two that I've had a compass handy just because of the location that we were going to. that might have come in handy. I haven't used it as like an investigation tool. You know, I mean, I've tried different. I guess that would be like a more unconventional type of tool to try to use as an investigation tool. One that I have tried that probably nobody's thought of trying to use before, but I did, was a quartz-based guitar tuner. It's quartz. And so I figured, okay, you know, if this thing's picking up on some sort of resonance of a certain key, that maybe would pop over there. So I tried that once before. I threw it down and just anything pops up on it. I don't know. So you can try different stuff, just see what happens. Betty Lange, would day spirits not seem to be as haunting as night due to the belief system? I don't know if it necessarily has to do with the belief system. Probably during the day they're just not as spooky, I guess, because it's during the daytime and not nighttime. I mean, people get more spooked out at night.
Yeah, most of the stuff that happened to me during the day was mild, like energy, strong things happening, but it seems like, you know, in the dark things are just different. I mean, you know, even as a kid, you know, you'd be more likely to wander into a room that's lit up than you would wander into one that's, you know, the dark. And I think we're just all programmed that way at a young age. So, but I've had just as much, you know, strong and weird and crazy things happen during the day than as at night. So.
Yep. And Mickey Dole's taking off. Good night, Mickey. Stream died again. I don't know. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We'll take this last one from Nichelle Thompson. Have you ever used mirrors or anything like that on an investigation?
I've seen stuff happen in mirrors, but I didn't intentionally set out to see it or to use it for that. But
yeah,
I've seen stuff in mirrors. Yeah,
I haven't purposely taken mirrors on an investigation. They're usually there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and sometimes people accidentally have mirrors, you know, across from each other. It's not a good idea because that can open up a portal. But yeah, not intentionally. So, Tom McNicholas, you can do a show with Vanessa and Shauna and call it the Night of the Witchy Shit. Nice. All right. So, yeah, there you go, Greg. Ought to try out my old Korg tuner. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what mine was. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. I guess the output is low again. So, I don't know. Fucking Frontier. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get down to our Super Chat Superstars for the evening. And we'll get into shout-outs. So we got Tom McNicholas, Robert White, Converse Conversation, which was Annette Kirkwood. The Sisters Wood, awesome. And Mickey Dole. So thank you all very, very much for the Super Chats. That was very, very awesome of you. We really do appreciate it. And let's get into shout-outs. So, do want to thank Donna Gorton for Cheshire Cat chatting the chat tonight. Absolutely appreciate it. Shay Paranormal saying it's midnight. Yeah, it's about to turn midnight out in the east. So, okay. So, shout-outs. There's Greg Rinkin. Thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Greg, Betty Lange, thank you as well. B3 Airspace. Thank you as always. So, B3 Airspace, one of our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. So, our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons are Tom McNicholas, B3 Airspace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, and Andrew Cox. I want to thank all of you very, very much for that. We also have many other Patreon patrons as well. And Patreon patrons just got a sneak peek of the Cheney Mansion investigation. So there are some benefits to going out there and being a patron. And we appreciate all you guys and your support as well. So Samuel Hall just got here as we're signing off. Samuel, I'm sorry. But we've been going 2 hours here, and so we're signing off. There's Zippy Davis. Says, great stream. Thank you. There's Karen Whitaker. Thank you, Karen, for joining us. And I guess you had a good time with Shauna today.
Yes.
So Debbie's Me 08. Great chat tonight. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. There's Tracy Christian. Thanks for joining us again. Conversation. Annette Kirkwood. Thank you. Sean Oldsmith. And, of course, Robert White from Australia. Thank you guys very much. Shouting Frontier, no. Well, yeah, there were some issues apparently there tonight. Butterfly in NYC. You have a great night as well. Thank you for joining us tonight. And for the questions, thank you for all the questions tonight, guys. They were fantastic. There's Tim Schoen. Thanks, Tim, for joining us. The Sisters Wood, thank you for being a new Mad Hatter out here. So thank you for the questions. EEQQ, thanks for joining us again tonight. There's April M. Wimigwans. Thanks again for joining us. There's the Haglin. Let's see. There's Shay Carroll. Thanks for joining us. Sharon Lane, thank you as well. Always appreciated. There's Lynn's White. Thank you too. And there's the Haunted Road Media Fairy Queen, Diane Hilbert. Good to see you tonight. Go to sleep. It's midnight in the east. Nichelle Thompson, thank you very much. Let's see, who else do we have here? We had a lot of people in chat with a lot of questions. Mickey Dole had already signed off. I know Sean Gilmore was down in there.
Adam Tillery might be lurking.
He might still be lurking. There's Grizz. Hey, Grizz. Good to see you. All right.
Nice group in there tonight.
Yeah, good group tonight. So let me scroll back down. So I know some people are already signed off because it's getting late. And it is. And I can't talk anymore. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. So there's Kathy Ciliento. All right. In April, we did not forget you. You guys have a great night. So sorry about the whole Edge of the Rabbit Hole thing. Stuff happens. Power outage for Freddie. We'll bring him back. It'll have to be October because we're booked until the 9th already. So to give you a preview of what that is, we have drum roll. Next week, Southern Gypsies. We also have, and he was out there earlier, Chuck Banks. Chuck Banks is going to be filling in for Vanessa Hogel because Vanessa's art show is next Tuesday. Best of luck to Vanessa. And we also hope she feels better because we also did not have Vanessa tonight. So, so we were without Vanessa. We were without our guest. We just did 2 hours of most haunted memories with our very beautiful and gorgeous chat shenanigator. And so shout out to Betty. I thought I got Betty. So Betty Lange. There you go. And Dave Stiles is out there too. So I thought I got Betty. Did I not get Betty? I guess I didn't get Betty. We gotten Betty.
I'll see you tomorrow at work, Cameron.
Oh, yes, Cameron was out there too. So, Cameron. What else was I saying? Oh, okay. So Southern Gypsies next week, along with Chuck Banks is going to be filling in for Vanessa Hogel. The week after that is the
Cafe Special.
The Cafe Special. So finally, all the different stories about the cafe, everything that you ever wanted to know.
Yeah, my former paranormal group was called Calhoun County Paranormal. So we have much shenanigans and escapades to talk about.
Yeah. So that's October 2nd. October 9th, we will be welcoming back Ghost Crier. They're kicking off a new show here this fall, so we'll bring them back to talk about that. And then hopefully after that, we'll have Freddie Silva back one of those days. And Michelle LeBaron is going to be on during October as well. We just haven't picked the date yet. So.
And then also in October, we'll be going to Chicago.
Yes, Spook Show. No, that was Spook Show was
Afterlife.
It was Afterlife. Yeah, Spook Show was August. Afterlife Convention is October 6th. So that's everything. That's everything. everything, and so much more. All right, everybody, you have a great night. We will catch you next week. Stay tuned for Friday Night Ghost Frights coming up on Friday. Right. And you guys have a great night. Yeah, it'll be you guys will like next week. Greg is like, can't wait till next week. Yeah. Southern Gypsies are a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Till next time. I can find the button. It always takes me a while to find the button. The button. There we go.